When you're working the bees, what you want to do is either be on the side of the hive or in back. You don't want to stand in front of the hive and block the entrance of the bees.
Yeah, I'm Rick Kline. That's about it. I'm just a beekeeper.
Okay, Joe will let her.
Okay.
One of the mentors
I
for
want you
the
to take your fingers and just move
Clay
them
County
back
Beekeepers
together,
Association.
because we needed some space to put it in.
First thing when we get in to go to the hive
Come down here.
is the bees like the propolis, the lids and everything closed. They're very good at gluing things together. Sometimes you have to persuade them to open up. Okay, there's nothing on that one. Now this is a nuke. This is a 5-frame nuke, which is a starter hive basically. There's a bee. See the yellow, the pollen in its legs, leg baskets right there. There's there.
This is one that we did split, Rick.
You did a split?
Yeah.
This is the split then, okay. Alright. I'm seeing a little bit of larva.
Okay.
It's very difficult to see it right now because it's so dark. Right up in there, down in there, there's one almost capped right there. Here, there's more larvae right here. This is capped brood. There, and along the side here, you'll see the larvae.
What type of cat brood is that? Drone or?
No, it's worker cat. Here on the right, if you look down here, you'll see pollen where they've stored it inside. They're packing it down in there for their stores. Here we have more pollen, more worker brood. There you have more larvae again down in here. You see it right there. More worker brood. More pollen up in this end. You see it? It's packed down inside. I've not seen a queen, but again, here's more pollen packed into the center. They're really bringing pollen in now. This is the hive beetle grease that we're using. Put it on very liberally. The bees kind of like it. I believe they eat some of it, but more importantly, it causes the beetles to move away and stay away. We didn't see any live hive beetles in this nuke. Okay. That's all we need to do. Oh, I forgot one. sugar water. This is a 50-50 mix, and several holes in the jar top that have been poked in. Basically, we'll turn it upside down, let it stop dripping, and then place it over the hole here. And what happens is a vacuum is drawn in that jar. So as the bees get underneath and drink down the sugar water, it's not going to free flow and pour because of the vacuum.
Now, this is called a nucleus hive. It's a 5 frame. Okay, this is a 10 frame main hive there that we have.
This is your standard deep. You always want to check your hive top, your cover, when you're first opening up, and make sure your queen's not in there, up there. When you turn it around and move it.
If you look right here, you see that there? That's a hive beetle. See it? Right there. Now that was one, and that's all I saw, so that's not
That's all you
bad.
see running around so far. Here's another example of the foundation, which is plastic on here, where they've put relatively new wax they've built here. This is honey. All this right here is honey that they'll actually use for their own stores. And that's the honey that we would not take at this point. Here again, the new foundation, new wax. There's some more honey. All right in here. Capped over, so it's cured down properly. Okay, up here they're storing pollen all across the top. You can see it. This is all capped brood down here. And some spots where the brood is open, there's some larvae. And there they went ahead and started putting pollen in that because it's already, the larva's already been capped and has left. So they're backfilling it with pollen. So some more of the same, pollen, larvae. Nice pattern on the brood. See, she's got it filled nicely. She's not scattered all over. There's nectar up in this area here, where we're packing it in, and then they'll dehydrate it down, and then they'll cap it. And then in a couple of weeks, this whole area across the top will probably be capped honey. And that's what they'll be using to feed off of through the rest of the season. Outside now. So right now the bees are staying more into the center, which they often do. Right now, because it's warm, they're keeping the cooler area in the center here. In the winter time, they'll stay together to keep it warmer. And then as the hive continues to fill, the honey will start being placed on the outside as insulation for the winter to come. Here we have a drone cell. Right here we have two things going on. Here's a drone cell. See how it's raised and larger? Can you see? It's larger than your regular worker cells. And then right below it is the formation of a queen cup. Right there. Now, there's also, it's open. It's not been filled, but they did make a queen cup here. And there's a good example. Lots of larvae in here. Your cap brood, you see the difference between the size of that worker bee cap brood and that drone cell right here. Twice as big. There's a lot of bees on here. These frames are very heavy. There's a very well loaded pattern of worker brood here. The frame is very heavy, so it's very full. But it's a good working queen because it's a tight pattern. There's still plenty of larvae. This side too, it's jam-packed. This is a very full hive.
Hi, I'm Dorie, and I'm a member of Clay County Beekeepers Association. We're a non-profit, and we teach bees. This is a top bar hive. It's a little different than the traditional Langstroth hive in that instead of expanding up, this hive expands across, which is the natural way that a bee will do it in the wild. If they do what's called an open air hive, where they just start building in a tree, they'll start on a limb and they'll build down, and then they'll build next to it, and they'll expand horizontally. So this hive it mimics their natural tendencies. In this hive, this is a feeder. This is called a rapid feeder. And there are times, especially here in this area, where we have what's called a dearth. And it's a time when there isn't anything flowering. There's no food out there for the honeybee. So we supplement feed with sugar water. And this is that feeder. This feeder's here. Here's the lid. There's a secondary lid. The bees come up from the hive into here. They're all excited because we opened it. And then this would be filled here with liquid, and they could go down their inside cone and get to the liquid and then take it back down to the hive. Now, I've taken the lid off of this hive, and I'm sure you'll see taking the lid off of a Langstroth hive. When I take the lid off of a top bar hive, there's still it's still covered. There are no bees looking up at me going, what do what do you want? So there's way more control in a top bar hive as far as how many bees are coming up and taking a look at you. These are top bars. It's just a piece of wood. It forms the top of the hive. On the top bar, we have a guide, and it kind of helps them build the comb. It kind of helps with the direction of the comb. They'll follow the line. And when you're going through a top bar, I always hold the bar down, because the bees, most of their communication is through vibration. And something banging on the hive would indicate to them that, something's happening, and it's not a good thing. So if I hold this bar down as I crack the propolis, then the amount of vibration that I'm sending through the hive is way less. It's much diminished. So I hold it here, I crack the propolis, and then I open it like a book. I open it like a book, and then I lift the bar. And if I do that, if the comb on the end is attached to the side, when I crack it, when I open it like a book, it cracks the attachment and doesn't pull the wax off the bar. And there's our first bees. Now this, you'll see some hive beetles on here. This is hive beetle jail. You see all these bees have corralled the hive beetles to this spot, and they're keeping them in hive beetle jail. There's nothing else on that comb but hive beetles. That's a drone. Can you see it? On here you can see that that's drone comb underneath the bees there. The cappings kind of looks like a dirty Kix cereal. How it's raised up. And you can also see the white. That's the larva. That's baby bees. Now also on this type of hive, because it's not framed and the wax is just hanging on the bar, you have to be careful how you handle it and always be conscious of gravity. So I want to look at the other side of I will go like this. So at no time, they are packed with bees. On this side, I see pollen, tons of bees. But at no time am I ever going to hold the comb to where it's horizontal to the ground You never hold it this way, always this way. All right, here's our queen. She's got a dot on her. Can you see her? That's our queen bee. When I put the frame back in, it's important that you put the bar in the same orientation as you took it out, because they have it in the order in which they want it. And why put them, they're going to make it that order. So if I were to switch that bar around, they'd spend a week putting it back the way they wanted it. So okay, here's some brood comb. See that? See how flat that is in comparison to the drone comb? So you see how dark that comb is. The thing is that these baby bees, these little larvae, they ask to be fed by emitting a pheromone, and that they ask to be fed 10,000 times a day. So every single one of those cells gets visited 10,000 times a day with food on their feet. So that makes the comb dark. When the comb is fresh, it's white. And as it gets traveled on, it becomes darker and darker. Here in Florida, we put screen bottoms, and we don't cover the bottoms even in the winter. The bee, when it's regulating its temperature, it's regulating the temperature of their nest, their cluster, and it doesn't affect them that it's cold coming in from the bottom. Heat rises, they rise. It's not an issue here in Florida. Now, some may notice that I didn't smoke my bees. When you don't have to deal with, in this hive, I'd venture to say there's over 60,000 bees. When you don't have to deal with 60,000 bees all at once, you really don't have to smoke them. I'm not doing anything vibrational to make them think I'm an intruder, so I don't have to smoke them. Now, that's not to say I don't have a smoker, because I do. And during certain times of the year, if I have to come into this hive when I know they're going to be defensive because there's a dearth and they're going to want to protect their stores from intruders, I'll light the smoker and I'll have it there ready, in the ready. But the key thing is to know your bees and to know what's going on in their environment. If I know that, say, I don't know, say a skunk was up here in the yard, I know that those bees are going to be defensive for days. So I may not even go in the hive for days. Or if I have to go in the hive for a particular reason, I will smoke them because I know that they're going to be defensive. Now, honey, this hive is full of bees. There's no honey. It's not the time of year for there to be honey, and I took the honey out of this hive for myself. So this type of hive, in the box hive, they use queen excluders, and what that is it's a bar, a grid that you put on top of the frames to keep the queen from moving up and laying eggs in your honey supers. So in this hive, because you let the bees put stuff where they want it, they're very efficient. They only live 4 to 6 weeks, so they have to be efficient. So the entrance of the hive is here. They're going to put the brood here. So because they have to be fed 10,000 times a day, they want the stores close to the brood. So they'll do that here. And then in the back of the hive, when there's a flow on, they'll start storing the honey that they don't need immediately to feed themselves while they feed the bees, the baby bees. They'll store it in the back of the hive. There's no excluder necessary. There'll be, once there's a honey frame, a honey bar, the queen doesn't cross it. She has no interest in honey. She doesn't eat the honey. She doesn't cross the honey bar. So once there's a bar of honey put in, everything beyond that is all honey, and it's the beekeepers. Have it. Thank you for joining us on this virtual hive tour, and enjoy.